I share this? Here we go. Okay, let's do a poll. Let's see. Oh, that's not how you do a poll. How do I do a poll? There we go. Let's move this up. All right. That looks good. How do you get more business when it's slow? Grab my mark. How do you guys get more business when it's slow? That's the topic of today. Let's see. Deeskey. That's right. I have been, and I always will be. Deeskey. This book is from 2 years ago, I think. So I'm gonna rename this book The Business Handbook. Okay, so this is my business handbook. How's it going, McGuire fam? How are you doing today? Just sitting on my business handbook. What is that? Got something. What's up, Gene Paul? How you doing? I'm going live today so that we can discuss business and entrepreneurship. I got a question, which is, how do you get more business when it's slow? And if anybody has any techniques or tips that they would like to share with the chat, that would be awesome. And then I can also go over some of the things I've done in the past to try to get more business. And yeah, this business handbook, my marker is a dry erase marker, so it just came right off on my plastic notebook. So, and then that's another thing I could do, is I could kind of start to go over some of the notes. I've had this book for over 2 years. And yeah, so anybody, even if you don't have a business, I would like to hear your input, and I'm sure other people would like to hear it as well. What you do, or what you would think to do if you had a business and it was slow. What are some ideas that you could do? I'm going to just write in big letters, business handbook, right here. Business handbook. All right. So I have my whiteboard behind me. This is basically what I do every day. I just make sure to keep updating the board, and I write down some goals on there. I have my daily goals, and then I also have some long-term goals, and I could read off a few of them. So like number one for goal today was to advertise my class. So one thing that I've started to do, which is honestly a way of getting more business, is every Saturday I have a free class where I teach people in the community, anybody who wants to attend. It's a free class. Just basic tips on your car. So I call it the 5 tips every driver should know. And I just teach like things as simple as checking your oil, checking your air filter, replacing wiper blades, checking your air pressure, and adding air safely, and then how to change your spare tire. So that's what that class is for. Let's see. Number 3 was to schedule a customer. It was a slow day, which is why that's the topic for today. So I did not get to schedule a customer today, unfortunately. You can see that I had a marketing meeting, which I did attend that. It was just with my cousin. Let's see. Yeah, get 20 reviews. I'm currently at 14 of 20, so that's an ongoing one. So I started my business basically the beginning of this year. I restructured it at least. I officially started business January of last year as a mobile detailer. And what I did is I basically didn't have that much success last year. I pretty much had to get a job. So I would say around March is when I finally folded and I got a regular 9 to 5. What's up, Roblox? Thanks for joining. So I got a 9 to 5, and then that basically made it so I didn't ever schedule anybody after that. So I didn't have any more people. But then what I did is, beginning of this year, I restructured it as mobile mechanic, because that's what the mobile detailing was kind of segueing to. So yeah, I have been doing this since January. I don't have a job. I'm only working for myself right now. And you know, there's a lot of things that I went through to get me to where I am today. You know, I did sales, door-to-door sales, back in the summer of 2024, and that's where this book is from that sales job. So if you think about doing door-to-door sales, it's one of those things where I wouldn't recommend it, but I would recommend it. And the reason why I say that is because there were people who were successful, you know, but those people were the ones that went 2 to 3 years without making any money, and then by their 4th or 5th year, that's when they really started to see some success and start to make $100,000 plus in 4 months, just over summer. And the people who are starting their first year, sometimes, you know, they do make that kind of good money. You know, everybody's different. But for me, I made about $50,000 in revenue for the business. So that translated to my commission only being about 20 grand. And out of that 20 grand, I got paid out 5,000 while I was there as like a weekly check. And so by the time I got the money, which was at the end of the year, it was basically only 15,000 that I was getting back. And because of rent and living expenses, and man, like I'm trying to figure out why it was so low. I guess just I don't even think they took taxes out. So what they did is they gave me like 2,000 up front. They took out my rent. They took out living expenses. And by the end of it, I made like $3,000 like in pocket. Like that's how much money I actually got to take home. So out of the 20 grand, I took home 3. So yeah, it's one of those things where I wouldn't recommend it, but I learned so much while I was out there. While I was doing door to door, I learned to be more confident in myself. I learned how to talk to people better. I was always a very introverted person, and honestly, I hated talking to other people. And I would never have thought of going to someone's door, knocking on it, and having a conversation, let alone trying to sell them a product. Which, by the way, what I was selling was pest control. And that one, it's probably one of the hardest ones to do if you are going to get into door to door. And it's not so much because it's hard to sell pest control, because it's easy to sell pest control. But what makes it hard is all the other pest control companies do the same thing. So what will happen is, in every summer, they'll all set out their door-to-door people, their salesmen. And so, like week 1, week 2, week 3, things will be okay, it'll be decent. But then you also have the people that say no, right? Or they've signed a contract. So by week 4, you'll start knocking on people's houses and they'll be like, you salesmen keep coming to my house every day, every hour. Like they're pissed because they've already told a door-to-door salesman no, probably realistically only 3 or 4 times that week. But they always over exaggerate it and they say, you door-to-door salesmen come to my house every hour. I'm so sick and tired. So it really agitates people. And I get that. Like I'm a homeowner. I've had people knock on my door trying to sell me something. And, before I went door to door, I didn't ever really think about doing it. And I would just try to get whoever it was there to leave. Just, no. Like, I don't want to buy anything you have. Like, please. And when I was doing door to door, I would think about that. I would say, well, I hated it when people came to my door and, were trying to push and, like, not take no for an answer. So I'm going to just be, like, super chill, So I'd knock on the door and I would just, say, oh, yeah, like, this is what I'm selling. Do you want it? No, I'm okay. All right, thank you. Have a good day. And it took probably like a good 3 or 4 days of that happening where I was like, yeah, like it's a bad strategy to do it like this. Like if I'm going to be out here, like I'm already the guy at the door and they're already expecting me to be annoying. So I might as well just try my hardest to get the sell. So I started pushing a little bit. Plus I had like a sales coach there and he basically would get on us and be like, hey, like, how many times did they say no before or something like that. And he'd be like, get it to like 3 no's, like 3 no's and then go. So that's basically what I started to do. A lot of that in this book is objections, how to get past them. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about doing door-to-door sales. That's just what I did. And it helped me better myself just because of, for one, what I was going through when I was out there. And then just kind of educating myself. And one of the biggest things that impacted me was positivity, okay? So that's kind of how I like to live my life. I want to be a positive person, and I want to be helpful. I wrote it down basically in here somewhere. I actually have another book that came after this one that's a lot better. I just don't have it on me right now. It's in my car because I still write in that book and everything. But yeah, this is, let's see. So I'll just start reading off on this one. It's titled Confidence. So go to bed early, get more sleep. Don't have too much fun on the weekend, like too much fun. Be obsessed. Focus on your numbers and stay committed. Be a great problem solver. Be committed and be focused. Reset. So I want to go over this one. Be a great problem solver. So that's like something that in the sales community that they always talk about, is that like you're a problem solver. So like for example, like if somebody comes in looking for a car, because I did end up doing car sales after the door-to-door job. Someone's looking for a car, and you know, their old car is either too small, their family is expanding, they're expecting a baby, whatever. You're the problem solver. You're the one that's going to be there to say, okay, well, what kind of car are you looking for? What's up, Stick? Cook this one. How you doing, man? But basically, that's what something in the sales community that I always talk about is being a problem solver. So the salesman is the problem solver. So that's what that means. Don't let bad things stop you. And that's honestly the biggest thing about being in sales, is you're dealing with a lot of people, and they either don't want anything to do with you, or they can get kind of mad at you and say some mean things, yell at you. I've had a lot of different scenarios play out. I've had, when I was doing door to door, that's the most aggressive style of sales that you can do, pretty much. I don't know anything else, any other one, but any of them where you're physically there, person to person, to me, that's more aggressive than doing cold calls. Because when I was a car salesman, that's all we did was cold calls. And, you know, that one was, it was whatever. But yeah, so pretty much I've had people pull guns on me. I've had people, you know, run out and say that they were going to kick my ass. I've had everything happen, you know. And so this right here, don't let bad things stop you. Like, that's the number one thing in life. See, this is what I'm talking about, is learning sales is also learning life skills. That's the biggest thing. So don't let the word sales stop you from watching. So the biggest thing is I started a business, okay? And there have been plenty of people that I can tell that don't like what I'm doing because they still have a 9 to 5, or family members acting too concerned, like my mom, thinking I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to make the money, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills and support my family, you know. And that's all negativity. So the best way to combat this and not let things stop you is to be a positive person and have a positive outlook on life, okay? So think about the haters, you know, think about what they're saying to you, all that negativity that they're throwing at you, and just think to yourself, this person's not going to be here. This person doesn't have anything to do with my life, even if it's somebody that you know personally, or even if it's someone in your family. When you make it, when you're at the top and you've made it, though, they're still going to be down here. And that's what you have to remember, is don't let that person stop you from being successful. Oh, be nice, what do you mean? Anyways, going back to my story. Let's see. Don't let bad things stop you. It says, don't be comfortable with no cells. Don't be comfortable with one cell. So basically what that means is just don't be comfortable. Like don't accept where you're currently at. At all times, you should always be trying to be better, to always get more, because as humans, we have the capability of doing that. And pretty much that's sorry, Mom, you're distracting me. What do you mean advertise my business? I am advertising my business. That's what I'm doing here right now. I'm talking about my business, okay? Anyway, going back to what I was talking about. So don't get comfortable with where you're at. Always try to do better. Always strive for more, because that's the number one thing. Like, when you're that guy that has the 9-to-5 job, and you're making just enough money to make it, just enough money to be broke. That's what I call the rat race. Okay, if you've read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's what they talk about, the rat race. Hi, Mom. Hi. So always try to do better. Don't just accept where you're at. You have the ability to be more. Okay? Believe the bugs are bad. Believe we are a utility and a must. So like I said, I was in pest control. So when I wrote believe the bugs are bad, believe we are utility and must have. So pretty much I don't know what the utility part is I'm talking about, but what I was writing here is you have to believe in yourself, And so when you're like doing sales, believing in yourself is also believing in your product. So, you can translate that to a business, where when you start a business or anything that you're trying to do, you need to be like in sync, and you have to have like 100% like committed belief that what you're doing is good, and you're the good guy, and you're helping out everybody. If you're just into it for the money, or if you're just, thinking of it as, I'm only doing this because I have to do this, that's where failure comes in. You have to actually believe in what you're doing. So, not so much like believe in what you're doing, but also believe in what you're doing, So that's what that is. Let's see. And then, that just goes back. Have confidence in yourself. So here we go. Self-care. So part of having confidence is taking care of yourself. And it's also loving yourself, And that's one of the biggest things that I had a problem with, because back in 2024, before I started this journey of mine, I had very low self-esteem, and I didn't have hardly any like value of who I am. So pretty much love yourself. Take care of yourself. You know, make sure you're groomed. Like, if you're the type of person that doesn't groom yourself, that's something that you need to start doing, because that's proving to yourself, that's validating to yourself that you love you and that you deserve to be taken care of. Okay? So always, like, you know, good grooming, buy yourself clothes, you know, care enough about yourself to care about what you look like. Buy yourself some nice clothes every once in a while. So that's part of it. That's part of loving yourself, is self-care. Okay? Where was I at? Positive thinking. Okay? That's probably the number one thing that kept me going, you know, is you have to be positive always. Like, back then, you know, when I was doing the door-to-door sales, I was a super positive nut. I was crazy, okay? And you know, like, I used to get really angry. Like, I used to have anger issues, you know. That's a whole other story too, but from like 2022, I started working on myself to the point where I wouldn't get angry anymore. But what I did is I kind of just became like a little bit of a doormat, you know. So by 2024, I started just being positive, you know. So whenever, like, say I was in a disagreement, like, I would just, you know, still stick to my guns, but I would also be positive, you know. Like, positivity, like you can just feel people's negative energy trying to bring you down. Cousin, anybody, I don't know what you mean. Anybody's negative energy trying to bring me down. Yes, that too. But that's what I'm talking about, is basically shielding your mind with positivity, okay? And one of the best ways to keep positive is to have gratitude, okay? So that's one thing. I have another notebook over there, but I would write down, it was my personal journal. It was a diary, if you will. And what I would do is I would write down 5 goals that I want to do in the day. And then over here on the margin, I would write, let me grab it, because I'm trying to remember. I think I would write 5 things I'm grateful for, and then I would write my affirmations. So let me grab that really quick. One moment. Okay. I'll get to the books in a second, okay? But anyways, this is the book right here. You can see May of 2024 to September of 2024. Now, a lot of the pages did get ripped out of this book, so it's kind of thinner. But you can see every single page. Every page I did it. Except like this first page, because of my daughters. So, oh, here we go. Check out what I found in here. Some sticky notes. That's one other thing that I do. So, this sticky note right here is a funny one. You can see it. It says, you are accountable for this guy, okay? And you just stick it up in your mirror. So that way, whenever you're walking past your mirror, you see yourself, right? So this is the sticky note that's pointing up to me, saying, you are accountable of this guy. I just dropped it. Okay. And these sticky notes are all part of affirmations. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I love this. So it's a quote, and I don't even remember where I heard it, but it's nothing changes if nothing changes. Okay. So basically that means like do something different, you know, like if you're not doing anything different, nothing is going to change, right? So nothing changes if nothing changes. So I love this one. And that's what I do. I'll just write down little notes like this, little like positivity notes or little affirmations on sticky notes. And I'll do things like, I'll put them like right here, you know, on my whiteboard, which I already write positivity stuff on the whiteboard anyway. So this one is, it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great. It makes it valuable when it's hard to obtain. So, message retracted. Oh, shoot. I dropped my sticky note. So, that brings me to something that has really helped me is keeping a journal. Okay. So, I would write in this journal every single day. I need to get better about it because I haven't done it in a long time. But you can see here. So let's just take a look at this one. This was a Monday. So here's the journal, what it looks like, okay? So the very top, these are the goals that I set for myself in that day. So I have workout. I didn't do that one. Okay, I didn't work out. Be a leader. Okay, I love this. Okay, be a leader is like something that I wanted to be, you know, like I want to be a leader. So I would always write in here, be a leader. And basically anytime like there was a coworker complaining or like someone needed help with something, you know, or when we were in our meetings, like I would stand up and contribute to the meeting, you know. Those are all like things of being a leader, you know. This one was Bible and audiobook, which I did do. I used to be really big into audiobooks. I used to listen to them every day. And then same with the Bible. I used to read the Bible every day. I am a religious man. This one right here, training, sharpen the saw, okay? Sharpen the saw is a really like big saying in the like sales community, you know. It's pretty much sharpen the saw. And then just don't give up, you know. And that's, I think don't give up is like the best advice anybody could give you, because like you're only guaranteed to fail if you give up, you know. And so that's like right now where I am. I would say even after all these years I still haven't given up. And the reason why I say that is I wouldn't be on Alive right now if I had, you know. And in any way that you can, do something, you know, like nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So right here in the margins, I have gratitude written down. So I have, here's my gratitude I wrote. So I'm grateful for strength, dreams, growth, confidence, and hard work, okay? Practice gratitude. You know, that's a huge one to practice is gratitude. And when you practice gratitude, that just helps with the positivity muscles in your brain so much. It helps with the gratitude muscles and the positivity muscles in your brain. And I know that's like kind of a joke that I like to say. Like there's muscles, like a positivity muscle or a gratitude muscle, but there isn't really. But okay, affirmations. I would recommend affirmations to everybody, even if you're successful already. Okay. Now, I did the same 10 affirmations every single day. Okay. It's important to do the same ones, for a while. And then you can either change those affirmations or you could add more, depending on what you want to do. Okay. But the reason why is because when you tell yourself something enough times, it becomes true to yourself. You start to believe in yourself when you say an affirmation because you've said it to yourself so many times. So my affirmations every single day I wrote were I am a leader, I am strong, I am powerful, um, I am wealthy, I am attractive, I am successful, I am valuable, I am confident, I am dependable, and I am intelligent. Okay? Those are really good ones. And then I have sales. So these are like sales affirmations. So I am sharp, I am enthusiastic, I am an expert, and I am a closer. Okay, so those are some sales ones. Hang on one second. I gotta go see what's going on with my daughter. So one moment. One moment. What's going on? Hey, all right. Sorry about that, people. My daughter was yelling. Okay. Let's go to a different day. See what I was doing. Okay. Let's go back to an early one. Oh, this was one that I wrote. Like this was the very first journal entry I did. You could see the structure is completely different. But I wrote, be a leader, be a lighthouse, be enlightened. Okay? So basically, like, going back to being a leader, you should always strive to be a leader. And then being a lighthouse is basically the same thing as being a leader. Like, be like a teacher, be, a knowledgeable person and share your knowledge, right? So, kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm being a lighthouse without even trying. And then be enlightened. So, that's also not only are you being a teacher, but always be willing to learn, Knowledge is power, and wherever there's knowledge, I would say just take it. Like don't be the smartest person in the room, Always be willing to learn. And then take ownership. Okay? That was a big one because when I was writing these ones, it was about like everything that was going on with my wife, So then only worry about what you can control. That's a huge one, Because like just think about what you can control and then focus on it, Like you can't control like what's happening in the world. Like you can't control the weather. You can't control the government, And a lot of people like like let's just talk about like presidential elections. Like I'm not going to get political here. But so many people let politics take over their lives, And they get so emotionally involved with these things. And at the end of the day, it's not really anything you can control, you know? Like there's the whole voting thing and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You can't control it. So focus on what you can control, you know? Am I going to jog today? Right? I don't know. Am I? That's something I can control if I'm going to go jogging today. Or am I going to go to the gym today? I don't know. Am I? That's what I'm talking about. You can do it, you know, like whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. What's up? Okay. So silence is key. You know, that's one thing else that I put there. Why?
It's only $5.
Okay, sorry, but I gotta pay somebody real quick.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Oh no.
Oh.
My soda. You knocked my soda over. Okay, going back to the lesson here. Here we go. Let's see. Stay consistent. That's a huge one. You know, like what I'm trying to do with YouTube right now. Like I'm trying to stay consistent. Like I've been posting videos every day. Instagram and Facebook I've been posting every day. And TikTok I've been posting every day. So that's a good example of being consistent. Okay, let's see. This is a big one. Don't be a victim. Don't think of yourself as a victim. Don't act like a victim. Here's the thing. When you have turned yourself into a victim, people can tell, you know? And like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like an affirmation almost to yourself. Like when you've like turned yourself into a victim, it's almost like that's the energy you're giving off. So when you do that, like if you're like always like negative, like, oh, boo-hoo me, you know, like this happened to me, you know, like it's sad. People are gonna be drained. Like your energy is going to drain their energy down. And so it's gonna seem like everybody just doesn't like you at the time. And you know, the reason why is because, you know, if you have low energy, people have to give you their energy, you know, especially when they start like coddling to you, like, oh, like I'm so sorry that happened, like, you know, do you want some money? Like, no, like they're not gonna offer you just some money, you know, like they'll offer you their sympathy and their energy, and that's just not good, you know. That's just, it's not going to make you successful. Like you can rise above that. You can definitely, you know, stop that pattern and come higher. But yeah, that's just like the number one thing about it is like when you are a victim, like when you think like a victim, you're going to be one. Okay? Take action. Okay, everybody. That's a really big one because it's just like this one right here. Nothing changes if nothing changes, you know? Like if you don't take action, your life is going to pass you by, you know? Think about how many times, like, you know, something has happened in your life that you could have done, but you didn't. And then like years and years later, you just look back on that and you just have the worst regret, you know. So that's just one good one, is take action. Okay. So take care of yourself. Be important. Okay, like you're an important person. Like that could even just be an affirmation, like I am important, you know. Because if you tell yourself you're important, you will be important. Because that goes a lot back to like having low self-esteem, you know. If you don't think of yourself as important, you know, you're just going to think lowly of yourself. So think high of yourself. And then this is also another one. Don't break promises to yourself. And that's a huge one. Because if you break promises to yourself, you're automatically going to allow people to break promises because you break promises to yourself. So other people, they break promises to themselves. It's, you know, kind of a given. Okay. This one was kind of a cool one. And again, like when I was writing these early ones, the ones on the first like dozen pages or so, it was more about like with my wife, you know. But it was, don't be defensive, be silent, you know. And that can be with anything. That doesn't just have to be with a relationship. And the reason why is because when you're so combative, like when you're so defensive, you know, it just, you need to be in a certain point where you need to realize it doesn't matter. You know, like there has been so many times in arguments or like conversations, and not just with my wife, with everybody, where I've told myself, look, this person's not going to change their mind. Yeah, exactly. Pick your battles. Like, this person's not going to change their mind. You know, like, there's no point of giving my energy to this person anymore. And so, exactly, just don't be defensive, be silent. And then not only that, but then that also goes to the saying, silence is power, you know? Like, you become more valuable to yourself and to everybody else when you make it so that your words are valuable. Because it's almost like you know, in WWE, when there's a wrestler who's been gone for a long time and they show up like out of the blue, like they haven't said anything to anybody, like for example, The Rock, you know, like The Rock left, and I remember it was like the early 2000s. It was always like, oh yeah, like when's The Rock gonna come back? Like, he's coming back. And he would say that too. Like, he would just show up random. Like there would be one episode of like Raw or like SmackDown or whatever, and he would just walk out in the ring, you know, and he wouldn't fight anybody. Oh, here. Please subscribe. And backwards. Thank you, Remedy. Oh, by the way, Grandma says hi.
Hi, Grandma.
Okay, so he was so valuable to the people because of how little they got to see him, you know. And that's kind of like the same example of the silence thing. Like, yeah. Let's see. Silence is power. Okay, let's see. Let's see. This is all just more relationship stuff. I mean, some of it, a lot of it, can be like, you know, applied to just life in general. No, that was Remedy who said that. That said hi, Grandma.
Hi.
Okay, here we go. So have discipline. Okay. So that's one of the things. Yeah, Hazel's just watching TV. Have discipline. Yeah. So I think everybody needs to have some discipline, you know, like even if it's just like, oh, I'm going to write in this journal every day, or I'm going to get 10,000 steps every day, or I'm going to go to the gym every day, you know, like that's pretty basic discipline. You know, everybody can have some sense of discipline, at least a little bit, you know. I'm going to go to bed at 9 p.m. every day, or I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, you know. But here's the thing. Right here, I have it wrote down at the very top. It says small wins every day, okay? So that's where this, like in this journal, what I would do is, because it didn't start with 5, you know, some days, like, let me go back to like the beginning here, when I first started doing here we go, like look at this one. I only put 3. I only did 3 goals, and I did 2 of them, you know? And that, to me, those are small wins, you know, like workout. That was one I did. Meeting, I went to the meeting, you know. So those were small wins that I did. But here's the thing, though. When you're consistent with that, and you do it every day, that small thing becomes normal. So then adding another one to it, it's almost like easy, because like this is one that you've become used to, you've built a habit of doing anyway. So adding another one is your next challenge, but you're still doing both, you know. And then you'll work your way up all the way to like say 5 things, and you check off all 5 of them, you know. So like I did my meal prep. This is only 4 that I did right here. This is before I was at full 5, but you know, that's just what. Here we go. That's 5 right there. That's just, you know, compounding those small wins. You know, you can compound those small wins. And where's your phone? Where's your phone? Okay. Now, you know, I'll be upfront and honest. I have fallen off the bandwagon of discipline. I'm not nearly as disciplined as I used to be. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna go to the Google Photos really quick. We're gonna go back to 2024. Okay. So I just want to point out a few things about me. Let's find myself back in 2024 just so that you can see what I looked like in 20. So right now, you know, it's 2026. I would say for the last 6 months, I've had a lot of anxiety and dizziness, so I have definitely fallen off. I'm not nearly as disciplined as I used to be, but I want to show you this picture of before and after, back when I was doing the sales of myself. So this is me like 2023, and then this is me a year later in 2024. And I just want to bring up like how I did it, and it was basically what I'm teaching you right now. I was just doing the small ones every day, and you know, I would do at least 10,000 steps a day. You know, that was the very first small thing, like just get 10,000 steps, you know. But then that 10,000 steps turned into 20,000 steps every day, and I was. And then on top of doing those steps, I started adding working out, and I started adding, you know, having keto diet. So right now I've gained about 50 pounds from there. What?
You can show that.
Yeah, I showed it.
You did already?
Yeah, I showed. Wait, hang on. In this picture right here, though, I was like 280. And then in this picture right here, I was at least 200. And now I'm like back up to 240. So I'm like, hopefully it's not, hopefully I don't look too bad.
Yeah,
I'm in the middle again. You know, I've gained some weight. But you know what? I've done it before, you know.
But we all still
And it's not something that I'm worried about, because I know eventually I can get back. Here, let me find the pictures of when I got really good. Let me see. Because I got down to 187. So let me see those pictures when I was down there.
Grandma's the only one texting.
Oh, I know. Oh, well.
Where's the other guy? It says there's 2 people here.
Okay, so how do you pause it? Alright, let me see. I got another.
The other person. Oh, sorry. The other person in the chat say something funny on your hair.
Yeah, the other person in the chat comments something.
Yeah, because
so this is like my final weight. This is me. I was down to like 190 in this picture. So this was like me at my best weight. Can you tell a difference in my face about how much weight I've gained? So this is the real me. Okay? Just kidding. They're both the real me. It's kind of funny, but yeah, I know that I can get back to that weight. I need to start following these examples that I'm teaching. Let me see. But yeah, anybody can do it, you know. Keto, that's all I did. I was on the keto diet consistently. That's the key, consistently. And then I would work out consistently, and I would get 10,000 plus steps a day. 10,000 was my minimum, but I would average anywhere from 15 to 20,000. My best day, I did 30,000. Like, it was like barely under 30,000 steps though. And that's one thing I started to do. Check this out in my journal. If you go near the end, this is so interesting to look at, you know, because let's see, let's go near the end. Like, oh, these are low because I was back in Utah. I was like, man, why are these so low? Let me move back to, here we go. This is back in Missouri when I was doing door to door. So look at this. I would have right here, I would write in the top how many sales I got, and right here at the top, I'd write exactly how many steps I got that day, according to my phone. Oh, and every Friday, see? I was tracking everything. Every Friday, I would write my weight. So this was July 26th. My weight was 201 pounds. Okay? So that's already kind of high. Oh, I was back in Utah. No, I wasn't. No, I didn't get back to Utah until... That was already kind of high. Where's the one where my weight was like... There we go. Like, let me go to the Friday. Okay, will you stop moving my thing?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize.
Yeah, it looks like all throughout July, I was like the low 190s, so maybe it was like around June. What are you doing, bro? This is my show, not yours.
But nobody's here, it's just Grandma.
It doesn't matter. That's being negative.
Sorry.
See? This is what we're talking about. She's being negative because I only have one person watching. You know what though? Sometimes that lies. Sometimes there's more than one person watching. Okay, I don't know. I guess I know at one point I was down to 187 though. I know I was. But I just didn't document it. But that's one thing that you can talk about is document your progress, you know, like writing down stuff. Like get a notebook and just write stuff down. Like that's honestly what my problem is I stopped writing stuff down. I stopped documenting. I stopped tracking. I mean, I still have the whiteboard right here. But I need to stick to the whiteboard more often, you know? So that's probably the best tip I can give is just writing stuff down, you know? Even if it's just a whiteboard or just a journal. And the reason why is because you can see it for yourself. You know, when you can track it, you can actually start to make progress. If you can say, okay, like I did 20,000 steps yesterday, I need to break that goal. I need to hit at least the same or more today, you know? So those are a few things that have really helped me in my life that I've adopted, that it can help anybody, you know? Just, that's how I became confident, you know, that those are the strategies I did. The biggest one was the journal. So here, I'm gonna write it down with this. Okay.
That marker's kind of dry.
No, this is a good marker. Let's see. Yeah, it's just like a different color. But here, let me grab that one. Okay. So let me do five tips. Five things that I did that helped me change and grow and learn. So journal. I'll just put every day. And then I'll put discipline. Will you stop? What are you doing?
I fixed it.
You can do it. I Bellavine you.
I don't know how to spell believe.
She literally wrote, you can do it. I Bellavine you.
Well, I don't know how to spell believe you.
She's trying to say, I believe in you.
Yeah.
She spelled it so Belvive and Belviven. I Belviven you. Anyways, discipline. Oh, what happened here? Was it already broke?
No, I don't think so.
I just barely broke this somehow. I don't even know how I did that. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Consistency. Consistency. So this is what I wrote, okay? Journal every day. Discipline. So here, I'm also going to write down here just small wins, okay? So start small, you know, have discipline and oh, hi Bellavine.
Oh, hi.
Yeah,
Welcome to the live.
Remedy just said your name.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, she did. She wrote, look, you can do it. I Bellavine you.
Where?
Right here, look. She just wrote Bellevine.
Oh yeah, I was trying to say believe, but
She was trying to say believe in.
okay, don't get
Will you stop? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Every time you come in here, you start taking over. Okay, affirmations. You'll also write gratitude, because that goes hand in hand. And then audiobooks and YouTube. Okay, those are big ones because that goes back to sharpening the saw. Okay, when you listen to audiobooks or YouTube, like positive YouTube videos, like something that's going to help you, that's sharpening the saw, you know. And that's one thing that I wanted to write, that I wrote down. Will you not? I'm talking about positive YouTube videos and you immediately turn on a negative YouTube video.
sorry, that happened.
Okay, so like right here, there's another thing I wrote. Iron sharpens iron, okay? And what that means, that's also one of like the sales culture sayings. But what that means is just surround yourself with good people, you know, people that are going to help you. Like, surround yourself with who you want to be, basically. And that's why, like, a lot of like entrepreneurs and salesy people will, you know, say stuff like, you know, if you can have dinner with one guy, like dead or alive, who would it be? You know, so it's basically like they're saying, who do I want to hang out with that's going to rub off on me? You know, that's what iron sharpen irons mean. You know, and that I can say like that did help me. You know, like when I was in Missouri, like all those guys, you know, in my sales group, they were all fit, and then I was fit. So it's like it kind of does prove that it does work. Because then when I came back home to Utah, things started to kind of go back to my prior self before I left, you know. And a lot of people go through that. Like people who were in the military have similar stories where, like, say they had like an addiction to something, or you know, like they were a drug addict before they went to the military, and then when they were in the military they stopped, but then when they get back home, will you stop kicking my camera? When they came back home they stopped. And then the opposite, some people develop the drug problems like heroin in the military, and then they would come home and be back in their previous environment, and they would immediately stop doing the drugs. So, you know, habits can change with your environment, and that's a huge one, you know, like that I talk about, is your environment is a reflection of your brain, you know. So that's one thing that I want to just bring up too, is it's hard for me because I have the kids and we have a lot of pets, but like keeping your environment clean can really help declutter your brain. Okay. But yeah, I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of notebooks. I have like 2 other notebooks that I wrote in, you know, just full of this stuff, and I'm gonna keep updating these notebooks. And then I have these whiteboards as well that I write on. But yeah, I would just say like just document your life, you know, like track things. Like this week, like I can track like so far. So last week I had like 3 customers, you know. And then so far this week I've had 2 customers. So I'm already like, cuz you know, it's Wednesday today, going on Thursday. So I've already had, you know, more than half the customers that I had from last week. You know, like if I get 2 more customers, I'll beat last week's numbers. So that's one way of like documenting things, like tracking your progress, things like that, like especially like with money, like if you need to make at least, 6,000 per month, that's your goal. Like write it down so that you can visually see that 6,000 right there. I have one right here. It's best to have it on something like a whiteboard or sticky notes, because like what happens is when you have a book, like it's written down, but then you close it and you put the book on a shelf, and then you don't see it. But when you have it on a whiteboard, every time you walk past, you're walking past it, you'll see it. And even on my phone's background, on this one that's recording, I have those same 10 affirmations as my background. One of my coworkers at the car sales place even saw it, and he started making fun of me. I don't sell them right now. Like right now, this is the only one I have, but I can get a few. I don't really sell them, but like I would just give them like to people that want it. That's another thing I do is I have like little keychains that I make, and I give them out and stuff like that. But yeah, I really don't know what else to talk about. I've been on this stream for over an hour, so. But yeah, I'll end it for tonight. Yeah, it's a cool hat. Thanks. I also have a shirt, and I have a bunch of patches that I need to put on like my jackets and stuff like that. But it's just been so warm lately that I haven't been worrying about it. But anyway, thank you, Bella, for watching. Thanks to Mom for watching. Anybody else who was on here, thank you for stopping by. And have a good night. Thank you.